Welcome to The Source, where we combine the headlines with in-depth conversations with the newsmakers themselves. Today on the program, public outrage over a rape slave convict's possible freedom.
I'm assuring you that hindi rin kami makakatulog ng mahimbing kung walang hustisya doon sa maging desisyon.
With the victim's family remembering the wounds of the past.
We didn't expect this to happen. We thought that he has to serve his term for 40 years.
But will former Calauan Laguna Mayor Antonio Sanchez get his second chance?
We will not just release anybody na hindi namin talaga siguradong behave siya while inside.
Also, reviewing a law that could benefit heinous crime suspects. Bureau of Corrections Chief Director General Nicanor Faeldon joins us live. Thank you for joining us. I'm Pinky Webb. The Bureau of Corrections clarifies that former Calauan Laguna Mayor Antonio Sanchez will not be free anytime soon. The Bucor adds that the rape slave convict may not be qualified for an early release under the new Good Conduct Time Allowance law. Lawmakers demanding a probe into his possible release, while the Justice Department says that those convicted of heinous crimes should not benefit from the law. Sanchez was convicted for the rape and murder of University of the Philippines Los Baños student Eileen Sarmenta and the killing of another student, Alan Gomez, in 1993. Let's go straight to the source of the story. We have the Bureau of Corrections Chief Director General Nicanor Faeldon. DG, good to have you again. Kamusta po kayo?
Okay naman po, ma'am.
Alright, gaano katagal na ho ba kayo sa Bucor, sir?
7 months.
7 months.
Yeah, from Department of National Defense.
Right.
Lumipat po ako doon.
Nag-ano ho kayo, no? Sa OCD.
Yeah po.
Nag-OCD kayo, and then now you are with Bucor and this controversy, sir. I'm just gonna go straight out and ask you, si Mayor Sanchez ho ba, is he qualified for reduced sentence under Republic Act 10952, or otherwise known as the Good Conduct Time Allowance, or GCLA law? GCTA law,
Yes.
sir.
I would like to, I do not want to preempt the recommendation of the Management and Screening and Evaluation Committee, who will be the one in charge of reviewing his records and recommend it for approval. But the law is very specific. Public Act 10592 says in Section 1 that those who are charged of heinous crimes are excluded from the Act itself. In Section, they tackle their Article 29 of the Revised Penal Code. In Section 3 of the same law, it tackles Article 79 of the Revised Penal Code,
Yeah.
but it also refers back to Article 29, which was described in Section 1, that prohibits the inclusion of those who have committed heinous crime. So that alone, any convicted or accused of heinous crime may not qualify.
Is that clear?
Yes, it's clear in the law. Now, there's also other disqualification for good conduct time allowance. If you have not behaved well while serving your, initially your preventive imprisonment, that is prior to your conviction. Hindi ka rin entitled.
Ibig sabihin kasi, obviously, nakukulong ka while awaiting trial.
Opo.
Yun po. Ang mag-uumpisa ho siya kapag ikay na-convict na. Tama, sir?
No po.
O sa detention pa lang?
Kahit sa detention pa lang, while you are preventively detained or imprisoned while under wrong litigation, kung behave ka at hindi ka naman akusado ng heinous crime, you're entitled to credit for
Good conduct.
yes, good conduct. We call that specifically as CPI, credit for preventive
I see.
imprisonment. Yan. Entitled ka doon. Then after that, na-convict ka na, it's the GCTA.
Aha, so
Pwede
dalawa
ka
pa pala
rin.
siya.
Opo.
It applies to two different...
Usually, the CPI is awarded by the BJNPs because prior to
Correct.
conviction, your detention is the BJNP while undergoing litigation.
Sa mga city jail yan.
Opo. That's why the law has identified authorities who may grant the good conduct, or the time allowances. That includes the director of the BJNP. Yan.
The jail warden.
The jail wardens and the Director General of the Bucor.
Kayo po yun.
Opo.
So, let's be clear about this. Only 3 can, is it recommend or pass final judgment?
Approve.
Approve.
The granting of time allowances.
So,
good conduct time.
Ang gagawin ko po kayo, I'll use you as an example para it's very clear, sir. Director General Faeldon can approve an inmate with reduced sentence and allow him to get out of jail on your own after a recommendation from your committee, from your review committee. Tama, sir?
Yes, but it is not discretionary. It is strictly based on the regulations, parameters specified under the law. We base our manual, the Department of Justice and the ILG came up with a joint committee that reviewed the law and its implementing rules and regulations and came out with a unified manual on the application of these time allowances and sentences.
But
So that is our guidebook
Yun
in
po ang
implementing
solution ninyo.
this. Opo.
Pero ang ibig sabihin nun, DG, hindi nyo na po ipapasa ito, for example, hypothetically kay Secretary Guevara for approval. You on your own, doon po sa bilibid, sa NBP, pwede ho kayong magpalaya na upon the review of your committee on inmates and good conduct time allowance, sir.
Opo, kasi if a PDL was granted certain number of good conduct time allowance, at because of that, na-reduce yung kanyang sentence to, let's say, 1 year, time served na yung kanyang sentence. So when it is time served, it doesn't require review. Except when there is a noticeable violation of the law that the DOJ can always have the quasi-judicial function to the function to review our decisions based on our quasi-judicial
But you don't need to tell the SOJ. You do not need
the
to
law
inform
doesn't
them.
require it.
Aha.
Yes, the law
On
doesn't
your own.
require it.
So, ganun ho ka, well, you can be quite powerful that way because you're basing it doon po sa RA 10952 na GCTA law na pwede ho kayo magpalaya. Okay. There are questions though on this.
Ma'am, react lang ako doon. It's not power, but it is a responsibility
Sige.
to make sure that the provisions of the law is strictly followed.
Nasa mandato po ninyo. Parang gano'n. Okay, better term, sir. Ang question ho kasi dito, maraming nag-crop up na questions dito. So, this was a law passed in
2013.
2013.
Bago lang po.
Apo, under Pinoy. But only dapat po prospective. Ibig sabihin, after the law has been
Yes.
passed. However, there was a Supreme Court ruling kasi kinwestiyon to ng ilang mga inmates, sir, at sinabing gawing retroactive to.
Opo.
Hanggang noong past, bago pa. Ngayon, ang tanong, sir, is, nung lumabas ho kasi na posibleng makalabas si Mayor Sanchez, questions arose on, paano naman ho siya nag-qualify sa good behavior? Maliban po dun sa sinabi niyo, malinaw na yung heinous crime is a disqualification.
Opo.
So, murder and rape is a heinous crime, sir?
Rape, yes. But there were at least, the victim was kidnapped, raped, and murdered. So the sentence itself was described as a crime hatched in hell. Even in the dictionaries, heinous is an evil act. Although there is a description of heinous crime under the death penalty law, pero ngayon suspended siya, but it did not suspend the definition probably. So we will be applying the definition of the heinous crime under the death penalty law. Although the death penalty law was suspended.
Correct.
But that's the only available description of heinous crime under our laws. Because under Republic Act 10592, it did not describe a heinous crime. So that is our only available description. So we'll be referring to that description.
Yun po yung gusto kong tanungin sa inyo. Kung meron bang, because I know for a lot of people, common sense naman yan, Director General, ng rape, ng patay. Di heinous yun, but does there need to be a description under the law on what a heinous
I
crime
do not want
is
to
classified?
to try on that because that is not my job. But as far as my role is concerned, I will be using what is available description of heinous crime. And that's going to be our reference. Now, let those who will be affected by it go to court and question it. And it's good for everyone because it's going to clarify
the discussion,
everything. Yes.
And find out really
Yes.
ano ang heinous crime. So yun po ang gagamitin nyo, what is available right now, even
Yes.
if the death penalty is currently suspended.
Yes.
Okay, and rape, murder is classified as heinous crime under the suspended death penalty law.
Yeah, the rape is very, very, that is what I remember. One of them is rape. So.
Okay, so ando na po yun. Heinous crime po yan, so dapat disqualified na sa good conduct time allowance. The next question is good behavior. Ano ho ba ang nakasaad sa good behavior, Director General?
Under the IRR of Republic Act 10575 is your compliance with all prison rules and not violating any laws of
Ibig
the
sabihin,
country.
faithfully complying
Yes.
with prison rules.
Not just prison rules, but also the laws of the country. Now, if you engage in like trade of drugs, or you keep drugs in your cells, and you violate some prison rules, one of the 49 violations of prison rules is when you live luxuriously inside our facilities. So when you build your kubol and live luxuriously inside your kubol, luxurious living is one of the violations. So every day you're violating prison rules. So it's very specific. So mukhang hindi talaga mabibigyan ng good conduct time allowance ang sino mang preso na namuhay ng luxurious sa kanyang mga kubol.
Muka, sir, or hindi talaga?
Hindi talaga.
Ayun.
Hindi talaga.
Kasi,
hindi talaga
malinaw na yan.
mabibigyan. Kasi very clear na violation of the 49 enumerated violations.
Yung kubol,
Opo.
yung aircon, yung TV, sir.
Opo.
Paano po yung drugs?
That is even greater. But under the manual that is published by the LG and DOJ, wala siya doon, but it is there's a number 49 that catches all other crimes. So
Which is yung...
lahat po ng analogous to the 48 other enumerated are considered violative of prison rules. So talaga po hindi talaga pwede.
So, malinaw po sa inyo that he's not qualified.
Yes, the reason why I really do not want to disclose this because I'm supposed to be the one approving the result of the management screening and evaluation committee. Kaya ayaw kong ipipreempt ito. Oo. But I will make sure that any violation of these rules and laws, I will not approve any recommendation.
All right. We'll be taking a short break. We'll be right back. You're watching The Source on CNN Philippines. Our guest today, Bucor Chief Nicanor Faeldon. Sir, yung sinasabi kasing violations ni dating Mayor Sanchez is in 2006, meron daw nakuwang pakete ng shabu, marijuana, and drug paraphernalia. In 2010, 1.5 million worth of shabu na nasa statue daw po ni Mama Mary. And 2015, what you talked about very recently, sir, a couple of minutes ago, yung kubol na may TV, may AC, at may refrigerator. Were there any other violations, sir, that you know of ni Mayor Sanchez?
I have not thoroughly investigated the papers because I'm awaiting those papers. It is not true na nasa table ko na because wala pa po siya doon sa priority. We are conducting the recomputation, the evaluation, based on the first in, last. Yun po yung inuumpisahan natin. Hindi yung we handpick kung sino yung unahin natin. Kung sino yung unang nakulong, siya yung una natin isinasalang. We are expecting by next month, early next month, baka marating na doon sa queuing niya.
Sa 1993, ganun ho ba yun?
Opo, baka makarating na kay ex-Mayor Sanchez. Then we invite the public and all those who are interested to witness the conduct of the management screen and evaluation process.
You will make that public, sir?
Yes.
I see.
I think that we will not be violating any, because the mayor will not be there. We will also refer to all his records. So documents lang yan and we will show you all his records.
At paano yun, sir, kung meron pong mag-oppose dito sa what you can possibly call a public computation of this good conduct time allowance?
I do not know if we will not also be covered by the FOI. So, well, we'll let them challenge it in court. But if there are public who are interested to witness this, as far as the Bucor is concerned,
You will
we'll
open
open
this,
it for public scrutiny.
So, let's just clarify this, sir. Kasi lumabas ho that there are 11,000. Again, babalikan po natin that very recently the Supreme Court said this is going to be retroactive. Hence, the recomputation. Na sinasabi nyo, karapatan din naman ng mga inmates dahil nga nanalo sila dito sa when they questioned this before the Supreme Court, sir. So, saan ho galing si 11,000 inmates na posibleng makalaya?
Ito po yung nakakulong as early as 93. Because if they have conduct themselves properly, uprightly in jail, they may qualify for recomputation. And if they qualify for the good conduct time allowance, magkakaroon sila ng time served. Up to around 1997 probably. So yun yung number na yon. But whether or not those 11,000 are qualified for good conduct time allowance or not is another thing.
So you're clear on that?
Baka 1,000 lang. So we really have to review them one by one.
So, sir, it's clear that kino-compute nyo po itong mga inmates na nakapasok po sa NBP, hindi lang po sa
No, nationwide po.
nationwide, not just the New Bilibid prison, but there are other penal colonies, of course, meron po sa Calauan, and
Davao,
Penal Colony. Yeah, lahat po
Leyte,
yan.
meron tayo sa Mandaluyong.
Correct. So, ang ibig sabihin, sir, ipapakompute nyo po lahat na itong mga inmates na napasok mula 1993, for example, until 1997, whether or not they behaved well.
Yes, we initially look into the records. If they are not qualified because they did not behave well, then excluded na siya. Only those who we will find na talagang naging behave sila will be subjected to their computation. Because some of them will be outrightly, hindi ka pwedeng magranta ng good conduct time allowance kasi hindi ka naman naging behave. Kasi ito yung record mo, ang dami mong violations.
But sa screening committee pa lang ho ba, tatanggalin na sila? O sa inyo po?
Hindi, sa screening pa lang.
Sa kanila pa lang.
Opo. Kasi it's going to be 11,000. Hindi ko matapos po yun. Isa. Opo.
But, so, malaki po ang posibilidad na si Mayor Sanchez, yung kanyang pangalan, ay baka hindi na umabot sa desk ninyo.
Malamang po. Kasi pag hindi na nila i-recommend for good conduct time allowance, bakit pa makakarating sa akin? Wala na po akong aprubahan.
You know, a lot of things, sir, for surface, no, especially yesterday, meron po lumabas na may picture po si Mayor Sanchez kasama yung anak niya, but, you know, the accuracy of that, we're unsure, sir, no? Marami po nagsasabi na wala na daw dun sa NBP si Mayor Sanchez. And then, these pictures came out, sir. Kailan niyo ho ba nakita si Mayor Sanchez, describe him as an inmate? Have you ever met him in person, sir?
No, it was just yesterday na nakita ko siya. Ganyan kalayo din. Opo. Because the members of the media requested a proof of life. I was also curious. Baka nga wala na siya dyan. So sabi ko, hanapin nyo nga at ilabas natin. Kausapin niya kung payag ba siya magpakita. So it's really hard to look for one of the 27,000 inmates in New Bilibid prison. So they have specific dorms where they are, but hindi naman ako pumupunta roon at maghahanap ako ng mga presyo because I have to address their concerns equally, the entire PDLs nationwide. So wala akong specific interest with anybody.
Sir, meron po nagtatanong bakit daw nakapolo si Mayor Sanchez, bakit daw may relo, bakit daw naka-leather shoes, parang lumalabas po kasi mukhang kakaiba siya doon sa ilang mga inmates sa NBP, sir.
We wish to be able to provide them up and down uniforms. Makikita nyo, may nakamaong, mayroon iba't ibang shorts. No? That's why under the new law, mayroon tayong fund to aid for probably by next year makabili na yung Bucor ng mas presentableng uniform. Na talagang up and down. But right now, ang nire-require lang talaga, dahil yun lang na po-provide natin na uniform nila is yung pang-itaas na orange. But yung mga pang-ibaba nila, nakachinelas ang iba. So if we can really provide them complete dress 7 days a week. Para hindi
But you
naman,
don't have the budget for that
yes,
now.
but hopefully because of the new edition of our GAA on the expenditure of our fund. These are funds generated by our own economic activities utilizing the properties of Bucor. We may be able to procure their uniforms next year. Hindi na sila ganyan itsura. Meron silang sapatos, meron silang damit. Yan.
Sir, actually yung tanong, nakapolo ho kasi si Mayor Sanchez, yung iba naka-t-shirt. Would that be unusual for you?
Itong polo niya is meron pa rin siyang marking na NBP, but I don't know the specific uniform regulation. But as far as the maximum security compound is concerned, they must wear orange.
Orange.
So, makita nyo yung iba dyan, naka-orange lang, pero talagang hindi siya may tatak, basta orange.
Pwede
Because
yun.
I still have to review the uniform regulation of the Bureau. If they are strictly required to wear a uniformly marked orange uniform na pang-itaas. Because yung iba kadalasan naka-chinelas, naka-short, naka-maong, pero yung pang-itaas naka-orange.
Opo.
I'm not very sure of the regulation yet.
Okay.
Yung pang-itaas nila.
Sir, matanong ko lang just a follow-up on the good behavior. If we were to stick to these alleged violations of Mayor Sanchez, yung huli being 2015, meron pong yung kubol, may TV, may AC, may refrigerator. Ang tanong ko po, would good conduct time allowance possibly begin after an inmate's last violation? Pwede ho ba mag-umpisa doon?
Yes. If kung wala na siyang ginawang violation. So let's say in 2015, he has never violated any prison rules anymore, then he may be entitled to 3 years good conduct time allowance. And it will never suffice to let him go.
Never?
Napakalayo pa.
Ibig sabihin, DG, hindi ho siya makakalaya?
Hindi po.
Imposible?
Yeah, I really don't like to preempt this, but as far as my appreciation of the law is concerned, it is really impossible.
It is ang sabi niyo. Impossible.
In the next several years talagang malabo pa yan.
All right.
Abutin siya nung maximum service of his sentence.
Yung 40.
Yeah.
Posibleng umabot talaga doon. All right. Again, we'll be taking another short break. We'll be right back. You're watching The Source on CNN Philippines. Our guest today, Bucor Chief Nicanor Faeldon. Sir, you know, the mother of Eileen Sarmento was saying that, prove to me, sabi niya, na may good behavior. Kasi hindi naman daw siya yung tao na she will still follow what is in the law, what the law states. Sabi niya, prove to me what good behavior is kay Mayor Sanchez. And on the flip side, sir, sinabi din niya na, papaano ho ba yan napunta na rin dun sa posibleng money talks? Let's listen to the mom of Eileen Sarmento.
Di ba, nahulihan siya ng mga droga, nahulihan siya ng mga cellphone, mga TV, may aircon pa siya. Paano siya sinasabing well-behaved? Sa amin kasi, show us the proof that he is well-behaved. How can we know that he really is well-behaved? Did money talk here? Pag may pera ka, you can get away with everything. Diba? And if you know somebody that's in government, pwede lahat.
Sir, just a reaction on that.
And I perfectly understand the feeling of the victim who has suffered tremendously during the ordeal of the trial and who has continuously suffered the trauma of the effect of that heinous crime against your family. So I understand that. But as far as we know, yung kubol niya was already destroyed in 2015 and he's never reacquired any kubols. So we will ensure that during this term, the President's term, wala pong ganyan na mangyayari. So those are the things in the past. And I believe it happened nung sinaunang panahon. Yung observation ni Madam. And I sympathize with them because I know how it feels na ganyan na mangyari sa'yo. You know, it's not so easy to have a member of family who suffered that much. So naiintindihan ko po yun.
Sinabi niyo po even yesterday during the press conference na hindi kayo yung tao na you will allow somebody with good conduct time allowance who is involved in drugs or even peddles drugs or yung pong nagpo-protect ng drug siguro pushers or kahit na sino anything that involves drugs mukhang hindi nyo po pa talaga papayagan. So if I were to follow that argument of yours, because the former mayor was, had violated twice because meron nga po yung shabu one time and then another time 1.5 million, then I can just easily say, sir, you will never let him out while you're Bucor chief.
I don't want to preempt the MSEC, but that's why I'm telling everyone to let justice be served here. Because at the end of the day, if we will not serve justice here, then we cannot sleep. Oh, that's all about this whole thing to render justice.
Sir, paano ho ba ang regulasyon na kapag si Mayor Sanchez, kasi he's the example here, sir, nandun po sa loob ng NBP, nahulihan ng drugs noong 2006, isang pack ng shabu, marijuana, 2010, 1.5 million. Is he again charged in
Yes, in regular court.
In
You'll be
an
charged of
RTC.
a criminal violation of your acts. So he was charged of that. Kaya lang, I was informed that in 2011, it was dismissed
yeah.
because of the chain of custody question. So not technicality lang. But as far as the Bureau is concerned, they stand by their position that those shabus were recovered inside in his kubol.
natalo lang because of
Yes,
technicality?
so administratively based on Bucor management, prison management, he still has violated rules.
Sir, questions now arise on the 11,000 possible for recomputation.
Yes.
Let's clarify that. For recomputation, meron ho bang mga high-profile inmates, maliban po kay Mayor Sanchez na pasok po dito sa 11,000? Especially, sir, yung mga nagtestigo, even against Senator Laila de Lima, di ba, meron din po yung involved in drugs. Anyone that you can tell us now?
No, those who are high profile, kasi kukunti lang naman yan, sila yung tiningnan ko. Hindi pa sila pasok dun sa pwedeng i-recompute. But I do not know the names of the 11,000, so but we will know. But those who are really high profile are not yet included in their computation kasi medyo bago pa sila sa kulungan.
Yeah, because as you mentioned, sir, you're looking at those inmates who were jailed or detained from 1993 to 1997. Yun
more or
muna.
less.
Yun po 11,000.
More or less, dun po yung pwedeng magkaroon ng complete time served if they will be qualified for the computation of good conduct time allowance.
Sir, how sure are you that wala na pong mga kubol doon? Because as you said, you never really saw Mayor Sanchez and hindi mo pa siya nakikita personally. Hindi ho ba kayo, when was the last time umikot kayo doon and how do you know that there are no aircons, TVs?
Umiikot po ako almost every week. In fact, I go to the different basketball courts inside the maximum. There were 4 basketball courts there. And unannounced, I just go there and play basketball. Just to see ano yung nangyayari dyan. And to listen, eavesdrop to what is happening in those areas. So I know that there are no kubuls.
Wala.
May mga dormitories. Talaga kasi we are 300% congested. So may mga scientists na hindi talaga kubul. Yung nakahiga, yung paa niya nasa labas na paggabi. So if we will destroy those scientists, talagang wala na pong matulugan yung iba. So while we are awaiting for the construction of more facilities to accommodate them, we do not want to destroy those small scientists. Kasi talaga it provides them roof during nighttime and rainy season.
Maraming salamat kay Bureau of Corrections Chief Nicanor Faeldon. Sir, thank you. Good to see you again.
Welcome. Anytime, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you for joining us here on The Source. I'm Pinky Webb. You're watching CNN Philippines.